And this is just one example of a people's movement being put down by the rulers. Almost always, a government that is faced with such protests has blamed the invisible foreign hand. When protests go out of hand, they blame someone outside the country for fomenting them. Our next report brings you some historic parallels to what's happening in Hong Kong.
Every single time the common people of a country came out and expressed their dissatisfaction in unison, governments across the world have invariably resorted to one thing, deriding it as a false narrative weaved by a mysterious foreign hand. For the unrest in Hong Kong, China has blamed the quote-unquote black hand of the US. The protests in Hong Kong are essentially a fight against political repression. And so were the protests in Iran last year. Then too, the Iranian regime had blamed an American intelligence official. Tens of thousands of Iranians took to the streets. It was the apt welcome to the new year that would go on to become tumultuous. The demonstrations initially seemed to be driven by the disgruntlement of the poor. But later, a deeper political dissatisfaction with the regime emerged and spread to over 100 cities across the country. The protests were de-escalated in a brutal crackdown, which resulted in the arrest of at least 5,000 people, including teachers, workers, and university students, as well as human rights activists. The mass unrest had a strong impact on nearly all political developments in Iran since then. Much like the anti-corruption movement led by Anna Hazare in India. Kisan Baburao Hazare, known as Anna Hazare, is an Indian social activist. 8 years ago, in April 2011, he started an indefinite hunger strike against widespread corruption in the government and the adoption of the Lokpal Bill, a legislation which would create an anti-corruption agency. Nationwide protests broke out in support of Anna. Public resentment against corrupt politicians and officials had peaked. But the Congress government chose to spawn a fictitious theory about a US hand being behind the protests. Media coverage went into an overdrive. The Anna Hazare movement eventually yielded a political party and managed to make corruption the crucial issue in every election ever since. But it wasn't the first anti-corruption movement in the country. Nearly half a century ago, in 1974, there was a movement initiated by students in Bihar and led by the veteran Gandhian socialist Jayaprakash Narayanan, popularly known as JP. It eventually turned against Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's government. Also called Sampurna Kranti or Total Revolution Movement, even this wasn't spared the foreign hand treatment. Indira Gandhi blamed foreign intelligence agencies, particularly America's CIA, for it. But truth prevailed, as it always does. From France to Russia, popular protests have been discredited, citing the foreign hand. Only no government has been able to prove this charge. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.